Okay, so we've got our two toggles. We need to make sure we rename this one enabled or active, whichever you want to call it. I'm going to call it enabled. Okay, so what we could do now is just do a quick animation between the two, and let's have a look at that. So if we press Shift E or click prototype up here, we can, so I have forgotten to do something. We need to add these into frames, else we cannot animate it. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to turn these into components. Create a component set. There we go. We've got our toggle now. And inside our toggle components, I'm going to animate inside here instead. So just do a quick one there. On click, we want to change it to property enabled. So that's, if we click the default, it's going to change to enabled. We don't want to do it instantly, but for the sake of this tutorial, we're going to start with instant, and we're going to do the same going back that way. So on click, change the default state instantly. Let's have a look at that. So what we need to do is just pull in that toggle from the library. Here we go. So here's the toggle that I've just created. Going to add a frame so we can actually preview it. And then we're going to, so here we go, here's our toggle. If we click it, it's instantly going to change. So that's really boring. This is what we currently see in a lot of apps. It's just an on and off state. So what we're looking to do in this series is create something more interesting. So let's do that now, but only inside Figma for now. Okay, so here's our toggle. Let's call this toggle step 1. And if we create a new one and call it toggle step 2, we can then tweak these. So we're going to use the smart animate. We're going to do a 300 milliseconds, and we're going to just do an ease out. Again, on click, smart animate, over 300 milliseconds and an ease out. We do have access to some curves here, which will be really useful when we come to After Effects. But for now, we're just going to use an ease out. And as you can see, there's a little representation of that curve here. So it's a nice, there's no ease in, it just ramps up right at the beginning and then slowly ramps down. Let's have a look what that looks like. First, I need to bring that toggle in. And there we go. Toggle step 2. Again, we need to add a frame so we can view it. And then, so now we can see there's actually a nice animation that Figma has created for us. So by clicking it, because it's an ease out, it will instantly start to move, but then it will nice and slowly ease out as it goes to the final point. And just to demonstrate that a bit more, we can have a look at playing around with these curves here. So we could do an ease in, ease out. And we just need to refresh that. In fact, I don't think we need to refresh it in Figma, but just for the sakes I have. So we can see it now has it's quite hard to see because it happens so quickly, but there is a slight ease in, so we can see it kind of starting slowly, ramping up really quick, and then slowing down towards the end. So that's quite nice too. Then we could look at maybe doing a custom curve. So if we go into here, go into custom, here is the curve, so you can see it's ease in, ease out. Let's say we want it to go backwards to start with, and then we want it to go past the point, its final point, and then go in like that. So we've got this weird custom now, and let's just do it one way. So let's have a look at that. Okay, yeah, so that needs reloading. Okay, so you could see there was a little bounce there and a little bounce at the end, and there isn't going back because we didn't touch that one. So that bounce is quite cool. Let's really exaggerate that bounce now. There we go. So we're really exaggerating it. Just need to go back here and reload again, just so you can update the curves. And now you can see that bounce is really, really obvious. So that's how you can play around with curves just between two keyframes. So essentially this is keyframe 1, this is keyframe 2. These are the two states, and then we're doing a curve between them. What we saw in here is that we've actually got multiple keyframes. So what we're doing in between these keyframes is we're actually manipulating the shape of the handle. And if we just quickly load that one. So again, this was using the rectangle example, but we are going to be using an ellipse in this case. But you can see we've got this nice bounce and we're actually doing multiple keyframes. So let's design our multiple keyframe version, and let's close these. So we head back to this page. I'm not going to duplicate this. I'm going to just copy these two and start down here. Okay, so we haven't got a component to begin with. So let's group it. And we're going to have a few different states here. So let's go to our end state and color that purple. So now we want to choose where our keyframe will be in between the two. So again, in this example, we're just doing a curve between these two. This time we're going to actually be manipulating the shape. And let's have a look at that. So one, I want to move this to the center. So we're actually moving, we can see across 3 keyframes, we've moved our handle from left to center to right. And let's have a look at how that looks. I'm just going to do these as frames rather than components while we're just playing around. And then I'm going to just quickly, so we're going to do on click, we're going to smart animate, we're going to do it, let's just do it linear. So linear is a straight line, there's no easing at all. And we're going to do the same one here, but we're going to do it this time instantly because we don't want to wait for an input. We want it to just instantly go. So we click here, it moves to this one, and then instantly moves to this one over the time specified here, and with the curve specified here, which in this case is linear, so there's no nice ease ins and ease out. So we can do that by going to after a delay and setting it to 1 millisecond. So that's the smallest we can go, I think. Let's have a look, see if we can go any smaller. 0.00, no, 1 millisecond is the smallest we can go, so that is essentially instant. And then we want to be able to, so we can only go one way here, because if we were to click back to this one, it wouldn't know which way to go. It would probably just instantly go back that way again. So what we need is another frame. Here, we'll delete that transition there. So this one will on click again, so we're going to wait for a user input, and we're going to leave it as linear again. We're going to again do after a delay of 1 millisecond. So let's have a look what this looks like. And if at any point you're not following, drop a message in the comments below, and I'll get back to you. Either we can jump on a call and go through it, or I can do a live stream and explain it in a bit more detail. So don't worry if you're not following along, but it should be relatively easy. Okay, so we can see what's happening here. We've got because of the flashing, it's a little bit difficult to tell, but we've got a animation of it going from here to the center, and then it's instantly, without any input, moving to the right. So I'm going to click now, and then it instantly moves to that one. So that's how keyframes work. So what we want to do is now smooth this out and make this a bit nicer. So we're going to look at this one. We're going to divide that by 3. Let's make this much quicker. That should look much better already. And we're also going to have a ease in at this point. So it's going to ease in. We're going to have linear here. No, we're not. We're going to have an ease out here. So we've got a nice ease in, ease out over these 3 frames. And the same, we're going to do the same here. Going to have a ease in and then an ease out. Let's have a look at that. Okay, so we can see it's a bit quicker. We still got that flashing, which we can probably solve by just renaming these all the same. Sometimes Smart Animate needs the names of each state to match. And that also goes for the subfolders. So as we can see, we don't actually need these groups here. So we can remove these groups because they're inside a frame anyway. And let's have a look at that. And also I'm going to do a quick reload because a lot's changed there. So hopefully this will be a bit nicer. Yeah, there we go. We can see, because we've renamed it and made sure all those are the same between each state, it knows how to smart animate between them. So now we've got this really quite nice animation here using keyframes. So that doesn't look too different to what we had above here. And that was just animated between 2. So why have we done 3 keyframes here? In fact, we've done 4 keyframes here. Well, what we're going to do now is we're going to manipulate the shape of this, which will be quite nice. So we're going to select our toggle handle or ellipse. We're going to double click so that we expose these handles. And I'm just going to pull this handle way out like that. And I'm going to do the same on this one. So this is called a stretch in animation. So as something's moving quickly, you can stretch it, and it's done a lot in cartoons. And as you're kind of stopping, if you think when you're driving a car and you drive and you stop really quickly, you get thrown forwards and you kind of squash forwards. Whereas when you accelerate, you kind of get pulled backwards and you feel like you're stretching. So that's kind of the principle here. And let's have a look at what this looks like. So we can already see it's already this kind of a liquid effect. And Figma does a really good job of using the Smart Animate here, and it looks pretty good. So we've currently got our stretch in there, but we haven't got a squash. So what we need now is yet another state. So I'm going to move this up here, this one down here, and I'm just going to remove these ones, and we're going to add another keyframe in. And I'm calling them keyframes because I'm trying to prepare you for what we're going to be doing in After Effects. But by planning our states now. So actually, I'm going to delete those again, and we're going to work from this state instead. And I'm just going to delete that transition. So we've got a nice starting point. There we go. So now we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 keyframes. And this essentially does our on and off animation. So what we want to do here is we want to move it to its final position, but then we're going to stretch it. Squash it even. We've done our stretch here, we're going to do our squash. So essentially, we're starting here. As it moves, it's getting stretched because there's a bit of velocity. As it hits the edge of the toggle, we're going to squash it kind of like this. And we're also going to pull the handles out so it changes the shape a bit. So if you think it's kind of hit this wall and it's been forced into this new shape because it's kind of this gelatinous or liquid material. And we're going to do the same on this side. So we're going to pull it in like so, and then we're going to extend this handle out. So it's got this kind of squashed look. Okay. And now all we need to do is add our transitions in. So add one here. This is going to be after the delay of 1 millisecond. We're going to do it linear. No, we're going to do it. Yeah, we're going to do it linear here. And this one, we're going to do the ease out because that's the end of our animation. Ease out after delay 1 millisecond. So we might want to play around with this time number, how long it takes to kind of tween between the 2 frames. But for now, we're going to leave it at 100. So same, we want to do it here. After delay, because we don't want any user input. We want it to do it instantly. And we're going to have that one linear. And this one to the final state. And we're going to have it as an ease out. After delay again, 1 millisecond. So hopefully you're getting the hang of this now. So this one, we're having a click. And it will instantly play through these keyframes to our endpoint. At which point it will wait for another click. And then it will go through these. So let's have a look at that now. I'm just going to do another refresh because we made quite a lot of changes there. Okay. So now we can see it does a kind of bounce at the end, which looks really good. So yeah, what you've done now is, if you've been following along, you have created a liquid toggle in Figma.